Welcome to the Mind Chimp podcast.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Man Chimp podcast. Regular listeners will be thinking, whose is this voice? So my name is Tim Roberts. I'm the L&D partner at Misguided. I have the very lucky pleasure of hosting this podcast for you. A very special edition because we're turning the tables on your usual host, Mr. Danny Seals. So I'm afraid you will have to put up with my dulcet tones a little bit in this. Danny's given us the opportunity to, as a little bit of a thank you, and as a little bit of kind of trying something different from his point of view, perhaps, is to put him in the chair. So a complete turnaround on this edition of the podcast where Danny's going to be answering the questions. So Danny, welcome to your Mind Chimp podcast.
Feels good to be here, Tim.
How does it feel having the tables turned on you and being in the opposite chair?
A little bit awkward because obviously, before going into these, I know what questions I'm going to ask, and I know usually where the choke points are going to be within the questions, and I know where people are going to struggle. We'll find out.
Now, you say confidently the questions that you're going to be asked. I may have a few up my sleeve that might surprise you. And Danny has also very kindly invited, members of his network, really, from our Mind Chimp group to submit some questions. So for regular listeners, there are going to be some new questions on this podcast for you. So, Danny, let's start at the beginning. And this is your opportunity. Tell us about your log line. Summarise yourself for us, Danny.
Okay, so... I was driving today on the way here and I was like, damn, I've not really given myself any time to do this. So this is going to probably be on the spot. A curious, creative chimp swinging through life, one branch at a time, asking the two simple questions of why and how. It's probably, yeah.
Nice. I love how you call yourself a chimp.
Yeah, it's got to be done.
Now, is that because your chimp mind overrules your human mind more often than not?
So, why chimp? So I guess I like the idea of chimp. I like the curious chimp. I like, if you go back to the experiment years and years ago, which I think has now been proven to say that it didn't actually happen. And basically, they created an experiment where they put in some stairs and put some bananas at the top of the stairs. And then what we do is we put in a load of monkeys within this room. And basically the idea was that the monkeys would go up, get the bananas, come off. And then what we did is they put a electrocution buzzer on the third stair. And then what we did is they put a cold shower above it. So when the monkey went up onto the first step, it got electrocuted, cold shower, jumped off. And then in this group of monkeys, what happened is every monkey went through this situation of getting electrocuted. And it was a social experiment. It was an experiment to see what happened. So what we'd do is remove one monkey and bring in another monkey. And then it was showing you how this behaviour can develop, and then what happened is over time, the monkeys started attacking this new monkey who got introduced into the group because he didn't want to get electrocuted.
Yeah.
But before the monkeys didn't know that they removed the buzzer and the cold shower. So none of them actually went over to try and get this banana until one. So even though all the monkeys were attacking this monkey, saying, no, don't, you'll get electrocuted and get this cold shower, the disruptive monkey, the curious one, still said, so what, and climbed up and went and got the bananas. So that's kind of one of the reasons where Mind Chimp come from, one of the reasons where, curious, creative chimp come from.
Love it. The disruptive monkey.
Yeah.
There's a HR brand right there, mate. Okay, so the question that everybody gets asked on the Mind Chimp podcast, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I guess when I was in school, it's hard because I think, life kind of, the people who's around you at times, they kind of shape what you wanted to be when you grow up. And, you could look at your great teacher and go, oh, I wanted to be a teacher. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
What I wanted to be when I was younger was, my granddad used to always call me a mad scientist because I used to have these big glasses, which were like, I used to always go around and say, have you got any things you don't want? And I used to create these scientists, but I didn't want to be a scientist either. What I wanted to be was, I wanted to do special effects in movies. I was always fascinated by how you could make someone look like, I don't know, a zombie or something like that. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to be a special effects coordinator without knowing that was a full term. I just wanted to do that and make people look differently. So yeah, that was what it to be.
I wanted to do that. It's a good career choice, that, I think, mate.
That's it. Point and just ask.
I really like what you said there, though, about you, when you're younger, you do tend to look at people around you, and that kind of informs some of your choices. And I think that continues into the adult life, because I think there's a lot of people still in the workplace that will look at their friend positively, their work colleague, and say, I want to do what they do. And there's also maybe that kind of peer pressure sometimes, that I'm in this group in the workplace. If I suddenly say I want to do something different, or I want to manage that team, they're sometimes put off by that. What kind of examples are you seeing that in the workplace?
I guess what I see in the workplace is, what I'm seeing quite a lot is magpie syndrome. And, I guess I'd like to say I feel like this sometimes as well. I go, oh, shiny new things. And sometimes I do. But I think in order to be good at what you do, you need to have a little bit of magpie syndrome. You need to get something, you need to try it, you need to see if it works, you need to see how you can adapt it. It might be a mobile app. How can you adapt that to the learning? How can you adapt that to the person? But then you also see magpie syndrome on a very opposite scale, where it's just, oh, everyone needs to have VR headsets, and that's the future. No, it's not. Think about the person who's wearing the VR headset. That's the future, the people. So you can talk about kind of, I think, magpie syndromes are bigger. I guess another thing which I'm seeing, probably, or what I'm reading more than anything, is probably just, I think at the moment nobody really knows what learning development is anymore. I think we're in the learning development's in put itself probably in a bit of a weird situation, because nobody really knows what it is. What years ago learning development would have been your classrooms. But what is learning development now? And actually, is there an argument to say we need learning development? Do we need it or do we not? Because the chances are people are finding what we need to find one way or another. Do we need a prescriptive team to do that? I'm not so sure. But I guess, the identity of L&D is something which I'm really interested in seeing, because if I look at kind of, I don't associate, and I was having this conversation with, I think it was Barbs Thompson, and I was saying, I don't associate myself with learning development anymore. I probably haven't for probably the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I think if I had to draw a circle, I would probably say, L&D is core, but there's a bit of marketing in there. I'd say there's a bit of comms around what I do. And then, marketing, comms, L&D is, the core of it. And there's another one which slips me at the moment what it is, but I don't. Employee experience is something which is near and dear, and I don't think L&D is that thing anymore, where it's a team that just does. I think L&D needs to have a marketing headspace. It needs to have a comms. It needs to be able to market its solution one way or another. And you need to do that in a world what's full of noise. How do we make the cool stuff what people in L&D are doing? How do we make that stand out? How do we make sure that L&D is valuable? But when I say valuable, I don't mean the usual crap what you hear at return on investment and all that. I just mean, how do people looking in go, shit, that team made a real difference?
Yeah, and I want a part of that sort of thing. Yeah,
exactly. Because if I go back to my very first experience within learning development, I had a mentor called Sakib. I still do. He's a brilliant mentor and a brilliant friend. The most humbling person you'll ever meet. But fundamentally, he was what got me into L&D. I had no real inkling on going in. I didn't even know learning development existed when I got into it. When I got into, say, Tecmobile and Telefonica. But I bought into him. His message, how he does things, how he creates experiences, and kind of, it was him who lit the fire. And then I went out and seeked from that point onwards, what he's doing? How is this doing? And how are the big players doing it? Or how can we bring in a bit of guerrilla marketing in there and kind of comms? How do we use that? And it's I bought into the person first, then I bought into the team, and then I bought into learning development. So it's a great shout.
Yeah, that marketing's so relevant, isn't it? And if you think about our learners or our customers, then we've got to market what we do. And I think what you said there as well is a really valid point, that if we see really effective leaders as being the ones that ultimately put themselves out of a job over time because they create such a well-performing team, that legacy, there's an element of L&D that I think successful L&D teams we'll also put ourselves out of a job because we create learning culture and then it exists and people do it without having to be forced or prompted.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, fundamentally, a lot of what we do is that creating things where they're not needed. I think a lot of what we're seeing now isn't a case of we've got to create we've got to create e-learning, we've got to create classroom experiences. Fundamentally, what we're doing is just making it easier for people to get the information what they want.
Yeah.
We talk about oh well, let's do this and let's do that. Actually, no, let's just go right back and let's just say this is how you're going to get there and this is the way to do it. We don't need to recreate the wheel all the time. We just need to put a nice path in between A to B.
Yeah. Cool, thank you. So normally at this stage, we will ask the guest on the Mind Chimp podcast to choose 4 numbers. However, Danny's let me choose those for him. Yep. So the numbers I have chosen will be revealed at the end because Danny knows what those numbers mean. So he's trying to look at what I've written down, so I better hide it from him. So we'll move on to the kind of next step within the podcast, Danny. So you summarised yourself earlier on and through the conversation already, we're starting to get a good picture of you. But just tell us about your background, bringing you kind of from where you started out to where you are now, and that question of who are you?
Yeah, who are I? So I guess in order for me to understand, let's go back. I was going to go all the way back to school then to kind of say why L&D is important to me. Maybe we'll do that in a bit. But so I got into L&D. I think I joined Tesco Mobile / Telefonica. I want to say around about 2010.
Yeah.
I want to say. Went through there, started off as a customer service advisor, quickly got put onto their management program, went through their management program, became a manager and a coach, and then shout out to Tesco Mobile. They have a great culture. They have an absolute fab culture of your manager, but it's also more than that. It's your person you have your consistent one-to-ones with, your consistent coaching sessions, and then embed that into the working week. So kind of got into that and I was like, okay, cool, but I still can't be creative here. I still can't challenge the norm. I can challenge it in maybe efficiencies and operational, but I wanted to get to the people before they come onto the floor. And so I referred back to my mentor, Sakib, and I reached out to Sakib and a guy called Martin Spink. I was like, look, this is where I want to go. This is kind of what I want to get into. Help me. And what I find within L&D, one of the great things which I find is everyone is always up for helping each other. And Martin Spink, Sakib, Sahid, they all kind of welcome me with open arms. And slowly but surely I got into the learning development team. And I guess it was a section, a lot of what we did was for Tesco Mobile. So Tesco Mobile and also had a joint venture, and a lot of it was for Tesco Mobile. And I can safely say we created learning experiences, which has won awards. But I think I got brought into the team because I brought in a new slant on different things. So, a lot of it was just kind of we use the term old school, but classroom based. And one of the things which I brought in was kind of being disruptive, about being using the buzzword disruptive.
Yeah.
So I would challenge a lot. I would say, okay, why are we doing that? Kind of, can we do it this way? Can we get a bit of learning into them before they come up to training? Flip classroom, usual, whatever. So yeah, kind of jumped on board there. Had an amazing team, and I will hold hand up say it's the best team I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
So far, because I've never worked in a team where you generally get the feel that everyone has everyone's back, no matter what.
Yeah.
Time inside work, outside of work. So yeah, Sakib, he won't like me calling him my mentor, but that's exactly what he is. And he made me better at what I do. He opened my eyes to different things, and he made me a better person as well. Just generally as a person, made me a better person. So yeah, kind of worked my way through there, got involved in a lot of projects, recreated the induction experience, the onboarding experience, won awards for that, the training, and then probably, I think it was around, what am I in now, 18, 17, probably around about 2016, I think, 2017, Capita decided to come in and take contracts, and I was like, nope, they just throw barriers against, they want you to do a certain thing. So I started looking on the market, and then Talk approached me, Worked at Talk for 2 years, just shy of 2 years. Their group experiential lead, well, designer lead, whatever you want to call it. Helped shape their team. Was in a lot of the interviews with kind of getting people on board. Had a great manager, Ian Turner, absolute awesome manager. They say, a lot of time you get behind your manager, and he was someone who I got behind. He wanted to change the world.
Yeah.
I think that's massively important. And then, stayed there and kind of probably enjoyed my experience there. Worked with some great people, Louisa Fryer, Laura, just Tamara, some great people, Richard Flood, and then kind of I had ongoing conversations with Nick Shackleton Jones. One thing led to another, and then before I knew it, I was joining PA. Long story short, within a week, I decided PA wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And it's just a whole nother story. That LPI team of PA were fab. Nick was ace, Babs was ace. Kenna, the whole team were cool. The LPI team within PA. But I just realised, I didn't want to waste their time. I didn't want to waste my time. So I decided to kind of leave within the week, which takes me probably right back to where we are right now. So at this moment in time, I'm in between roles. I've got a few people who are interested in me, but I think the one thing I want to do this time is rather than me just jump straight into a role, I want to take time and make sure everything's aligned, the ducks are in the line, kind of a culture, the openness to being able to challenge. And that's where I am right now. So, but I guess going back to kind of why L&D. So L&D. So I guess in school and throughout uni, I struggled throughout school. I kind of never really took school. I loved school, but I never really enjoyed it to a point of enjoying lessons. And I wanted to, but it turns out left school, did a modern apprenticeship, used to build limousines, and then at that point I was like, no, I'm not built for doing hard graft. I'm just not. I'm built for being creative and challenging. That's what I'm built for. So I decided to go to uni, did forensic CSI at uni. Reflection, I worked way in there for probably 3 years, and then on the last year I decided to knock that on the head as well. And the reason why I knocked that on the head was because I made I kind of added the dots up really quick. The problem is with crime scene investigation, or whatever you want to call them, TOCO, is the roles are so good that the only way you get to go into that is if someone dies or someone retires. And then when that happens, you're going to have 5 years worth of uni students all going for that one role.
Yeah. And
I just realised, it's going to be a tricky one to get into that role. So why don't I just pivot and use that posh word of pivot, or just change my ideas and go somewhere else? So that's why I went into Tesco. But on reflection, it was only in uni when I went through kind of assessments that they made me go through a bit of a dyslexic assessment, and it was only in uni where they flagged up I had dyslexia and dyspraxia, which kind of sums up why I always remember in school we was doing algebra, and this is why I hate algebra, and this is why I kind of I don't like it really, because I remember in school I was sat down and the teacher was writing algebra on the board, and I was sat there and I was thinking, I understand what you're saying, but I don't understand what you're writing. I don't get what the two things are two separate things. And I'd always have it in my school reports. Really good, nice guy, and really good kid, and whatever else, but lacks concentration or whatever. And I remember a teacher turned around to me and went, "Why are you not getting this? It's stupid." And I was it's weird. Certain things within your life stick with you, and that was one of them. He wasn't a nasty teacher by any stretch of imagination. He was a good teacher. But yeah, it just kind of, it's only once I was in uni that I just wish I knew in school I had dyslexia, but at the time it was probably never even thought of. So
yeah,
I can't blame school. I can blame school for, this is probably a different debate. I can blame school for how school is run now, and I think that's fundamentally massively flawed. But yeah, sorry, went off on a tangent.
Don't apologise. What an amazing story, from building limousines to CSI to L&D.
Yeah.
Not many people have that journey. Now, just you've been very honest there in terms of kind of current situation, and you know my feelings on that. I respect in terms of that decision, and I think for me, I think you're setting an example as to a lot of people. And it reminds me of, I used to work with somebody, and they would say, it was a member of their family, they said they just have this philosophy in life that if you don't like it, change it. And I really like that because it builds into this kind of working within your circle of influence. But what I'd like to do is, it made me think of a question that we had from a member of the group that I think might help in terms of your situation now, maybe putting some thought to that for you in terms of next stages. And that is, if you could only design or deliver one type of learning for the rest of your life, so what by that they mean maybe digital workshops, coaching, whatever, what would it be and why?
Wow, what a question.
I know.
Do we know who asked that question?
I've not written it down.
Oh, right,
so,
okay. That's cool.
You know who you are, and we'll give you credit for it.
Yeah. Wow, one type of learning. I would create learning and create a learning experience. And that's a very sharp get out. So the reason behind that is because a learning experience isn't one thing. It isn't one thing. I think, a learning experience, I tell you what a learning experience isn't. A learning experience isn't e-learning. And no matter how much you change your job title and call yourself e-learning experience, you're not a learning experience designer. You're an ID. Own that message. And instructional designers, you are great at what you do, but just own your message and own your title. I guess, it'd be a learning experience. I think a learning resource is good if you need to get from A to B and you need to figure out what you need to do quick, and you look at something like checklist manifesto books and stuff like that, and that tells you how to do that. But an experience can have an impact which creates a memory, which creates better recall. That's kind of my rough take on it. So for instance, an experience, you look at most bullies in school and stuff like that, and you can always remember your favourite teacher's name, you can always remember your favourite teacher's name, or you can remember the name of the bully. And why is that? Because they've had an emotional response on you. They've had a thing where you've gone, oh my God, I don't like this bully. How dare Dave be the bully? And kind of you associate your feelings to that moment.
Yeah.
And that's what learning experiences are for me. It's kind of creating that emotional impact, that emotional jerk, which then invites you in. And I guess before you even do all that, it's creating that environment. So a learning environment.
Nice. So there's a bit of a follow-up to that.
Okay.
So we know which type you would want to design and deliver the rest of your life if you were forced to choose. What would the content be and why? And what we mean by content is it communication skills, coaching, onboarding, etc.? What would the content be? If you could only do one for the rest of your life, what would it be and why?
Oh, wow. Content. I'm not really sure if it's content. I think for me, the content would be being creative. Now, I'm not really sure if this is Get Out, but I think creativity is something which can adapt. It's a bit like digital. The way I see digital at the minute is digital is like an egg, a normal egg what you get from a shop. An egg you can fry it, you can scramble it, you can boil egg. But fundamentally, it's an egg, and as much as you can adapt it to certain different types of eggs, an egg will never be a steak.
Yeah.
Okay, an egg is an egg. And I think creativity is a bit like that, but creativity can express itself in different ways. It can express itself in pain, art, communication, and I think it would be releasing the inner creative child, because I think the branches which come off that can go anywhere.
Yeah, nice, lovely, okay. Thank you. So I'm really keen to, one of the questions that I love that you talked about on the Man Chimp podcast, I think anybody who works in L&D will have a similar passion around the books and in terms of the reading. So if you could give one book as a gift to somebody, what book would it be and why? So
this is a really hard question. I enjoy asking this question on the podcast because it everyone reads so many books. But I think a good book is one which can come to mind straight away. And for me, it's Dice Man. And the Dice Man isn't a learning book by any stretch of imagination. However, you can take from the Dice Man whatever you want. I'll give you a real quick recap of what Dice Man's about. Basically, he gets a bit bored of life. It starts out as a bit of an experiment. So he lives his life by dice. And if you ever want to do a good drinking game, do this. Just me and my mate Sam went out with a dice, and literally I can't remember most of the night. But so basically what you do is you create a dice. and you can do the dice wherever you want. You can have odds and evens, and what you do is you attach two things to it. So maybe odds, we go to this bar, evens, we go to that bar. But what happens is it's about giving in and just giving into chance. But within that chance, you still have a confinement, and freedom is giving, making the choice, but by rolling the dice. And that for me is like truth. I was having a chat with Toby from Filtered just there, and we was talking about this because a lot of people haven't read this book. I think I know 4 people who's read this book, and this book follows this guy. But what happens is his mind starts changing, so he starts adding in more crazier ideas and more adventurous ideas. I mean, at one point in the book, if I remember rightly, he gives one side of a dice to go and rape his next door neighbour. So it shows you the graduation of kind of odds and evens to each side, and then giving into it. I don't think he doesn't rape the neighbour, don't get me wrong, it's not that dark. But it just shows kind of how your mind changes, and you constantly want to edge for something a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more. But for me, the message of it was real simple: is in life, true freedom is hard to get because you always got to impress people, or you've always got to listen to other people's opinions. But understand that true freedom is just literally making that choice. Do you want to go there? Do you want to go there? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Do you want to stay in the job, or do you just walk out?
Yeah.
Should have had a dice for me, shouldn't I, when I made that choice? But yeah.
There's a brilliant choice, because as you were talking there, and like I say, okay, we used the extreme example of thank God the dice didn't land on that side, but there's an element linking into kind of our normal mindset or brain with that, isn't there? That as we go through life and we have those different experiences, we are more confident to step out of our comfort zone and maybe do that more radical. Yeah. Even the fact that we're sat here today of relatively similar lengths in terms of L&D careers, that if you went back probably 6 years, would be terrified of doing an induction, and here we are now doing podcasts that are hopefully going to be listened to by millions of people. And I think there's an element, isn't there, that as we kind of get older, is the only way I can put it, that we're more comfortable of stepping out of our comfort zone because we've had those experiences to tell us, well, actually, I've done that, so I can go to the next level. I've done that, so I can take that next step. What's the last thing you did that really took you out of your comfort zone, Danny?
Oh, wow. Personally or just professionally? Or
anything?
Oh, comfort zone. Probably professionally. It was probably giving a talk. And when I say giving a talk, it's not delivery, because delivery is in our DNA, I think.
Yeah.
So, and we can rise to that. And, we zip up and we go into this sort of like persona, and then that's good. But the difference between giving it to some people and giving it to your peers and people who know what you're talking about, and even though you know and have confidence in what you're talking about in your message, that little voice still sneaks in. Luckily, one of my friends who I worked with, Laura, she was there. She gave me some moral support, and it landed really good. The feedback which I got from it was like 9 out of 10, which was unheard of.
Yeah.
On the feedback from it, cool. Which was good. Again, I think that's just because in my pitch I introduced quite a bit of humour, and so probably the talk is probably the most out of comfort zone. Out of comfort zone could have been walking, leaving the job within a week as well.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, and that's an impact on both your personal and professional life, isn't it? So
just a bit. I think personal life was. Yeah, I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, so I like fear. I like being able to try and push myself to the limit. I think you see that in a lot of. So I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and mixed martial arts. And so, yeah, I think the last one was probably a skydive. So I did a 16,000 skydive.
Right, wow.
So I've done a few things. I've done base jumping and stuff like that. But
a solo skydive?
No,
so
this was kind of, rolling the dice and within the limits. So I had someone attached to me.
Yeah.
And he was a good guy, actually. He was a good guy. The scariest thing was probably the base jump what I did. That was scary. You just jump off a mountain and open your parachute. But I think this one was really interesting because really awkward. You're going up and we're sat on this plane, and I'm looking out the window like, "Ooh, are we nearly here now, Mr. Backpack?" And he's like, no, mate, you're only 7,000 feet up. I was like, oh, Jesus. So, sat there, 16,000 feet, open up the door. You're like, oh. So then you wiggle, and he's attached to you, so you're wiggling. Both of you are just wiggling together. And then when you do a parachute, you hang over the edge.
Yeah.
So he sat down, and we was talking, and we was having a laugh and joke, and he went, if you just look now between your legs, you'll see. And as I looked down, he went, go, and tippled out. So he was like doing these flips and rolls and stuff. It was so good. It was so good. And another thing, you know, when you see in the films when they pull a parachute and they get pulled right up, you don't really get that. It just looks that way.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the fear of living on the edge and thinking, I'm going to jump out of a plane in a minute. But then the quietness as well. So when you jump out and the chute's open and it gives you the things to control, it's so quiet. And it wasn't a massively windy day. It was quite a nice day. But I think being in the moment with yourself is quite good, even though he's attached to you. He must go through this and he must know when to be quiet and stuff.
Yeah.
But I had a guy who was video recording it. And he's like, I will jump out first, and then when you get down to me, we'll record you. But what we don't tell you when you skydive is, if you lie flat and put your head down, the wind coming up stops you from, that's how you get your breath.
Yeah.
But as soon as you lift your head up for the guy to see, you can't breathe. So this guy's like, lift your head up like that. My lips are going all over the show. I'm trying to smile to the camera. It was probably not one of the best, photo
It's not going to be your profile picture, yeah.
But that was probably living on the edge a little bit.
Yeah.
The base jump thing where you're going to jump off a cliff and you pull the parachute, that was a bit scary, just because it was in a foreign country and I had no idea who the guy was attached to me. So that was another one.
Sounds like a hangover film or something.
Next week I'm going to come home with a tattoo on my face.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of. I think you have a lot of. Moments where it puts you out your comfort zone, but one always tops another, and then another tops, and that's growth, right? That's you developing.
Yes.
So I suppose the most recent one was that, yeah.
Two very good examples. Just the sentence of you run and jump off a cliff is probably enough for anybody. If you could go back and pick just 2 hours from your professional life to relive or kind of have as that kind of ongoing repetitive in terms of the success in your professional life, which 2 hours would you choose?
So I can split the 2 hours into 2 1-hour segments. Is that right?
Go on, I'll let you.
Awesome. So I love communication. I love talking about learning and the future of learning, or what the future isn't of learning, and kind of just learning in general. So I like good conversations. I think in a world now where we're constantly looking at a phone, the art of conversation is not limiting, but you got a lot more stuff getting your attention. And these podcasts, you could talk for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I like the conversation aspect, and I like working within teams. And I guess the second hour would be creating. Oh God, I don't know, because I like delivery as well. Creating, let's call it creating, because I think there's something what you get when you're creating. You're in that, let's call it a flow state, and you're in that state where everything just goes. Your pencil's got kind of taken over itself, and you start thinking about this will link with that, which will link with it, which will bring back round to that. And how will my people be feeling? What will they be seeing? What will they be feeling? What will they be doing? And then I guess it depends on how much your experiences you create. Because if you're doing, say, something like a classroom, I think one of the things which we did as a team, me, Sakim, Sahid, was we created how the learner moves within the room as well. So rather than it just being, you stand at the front, actually, how do you engage with? How do you move? How do you create the little huddles of conversations? And how do you do? So, experience, creating the learning experience. Yeah, it's one of the things we used to do at Tesco, which I can't take credit for, but we kind of went with it and adapted it, was undercover boss. So in inductions, what we used to do was we used to come to reception, and then reception used to tell you to sit in that hangout area. So what me and Sakib used to do was we used to pretend we was new. We used to get our own little pass, and then we used to create these stories, these backstories, like I got sacked for watching adult material on my lunch break, and this is why I hope they don't do a credit check on me and stuff like that. And the idea was to create conversation and awkwardness, but it was also to highlight the simple fact of the people in here, the heads of, they all dress the same as you. You have no idea who you're talking to. And then at 9 o'clock, we'd probably say, oh, look, the train hasn't even bothered coming to get us. And then at 1 minute past 9, we'd jump up and go, where are your trainers? Come follow us for an induction experience. But it was creating that life isn't always massively serious, but repercussions of saying the wrong thing to the wrong person could be, and just be aware of your surroundings. So creating, and every single module, we did something which was a little bit different. That's probably why it won awards. But creating the experience. Yeah.
Love it. Brilliant idea. And I'm sure there'll be so many of our listeners thinking about this is, as you're talking about there, it's making me feel like I wish I'd lived those 2 hours. So brilliant examples and very closely linked as well, aren't they, in terms of how they, certainly from an L&D point of view. Okay, so think about other people now then. If you could give somebody, if you can give me 3, sorry, I'm completely switching this around. If you can give me 3 tips to improve my life, so to kind of create this tenfold in terms of my life, what would those 3 tips be?
The 10x question.
I've made it very personal by making it, give it me.
No. So how can we 10x your work or your life or whatever? I think if you want to get good at L&D, don't look in L&D. That's probably one. And that's making the assumption that I'm good in L&D. I'm sure there'll be loads of people who say I don't, and that's fine. You can have your opinion. But I think if you want to continue to be, let's use a posh word again, of disruptive or challenging, look. Actually, it was Nick who asked me this question. Nick Shackleton and Jones asked me this question. Where do you look for inspiration? I went, I look everywhere but learn development for inspiration. It was like, oh, right, okay, why is that? I went, because if you're looking for learning development for inspiration, you're always going to get what learning development they're doing right now.
Yeah.
So I will look everywhere but learn development to get better at it. So, marketing teams are awesome to listen to, understand how to do it. The big buzzword at the minute is design thinking, but marketers know their person a lot more closer than what learning development people do. So that would be one.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, do anything outside of L&D. And number two. Be, how can I phrase this? Be cheeky. Be provocative. Yeah. Because, you'll hear this in my podcast. From podcast A1 all the way right through to podcast 20, my opinions change. And I think if you're so rigid in your opinion, you're going to get left behind. So podcast 1, I might say, I don't like CIPD. Podcast 3, I might be like, actually, CIPD is really good. And that's because my opinion is allowed to change. We're human, and that is fundamentally what we should be doing. Yeah. So be creative, not be creative, but be cheeky, be provocative on the fact that if something's on your mind, say something's on your mind. Use your tone of voice. Don't change your tone of voice to meet what you think the HR want and stuff like that. Because the reason you are here right now is because of who you are, not because of what HR wants to be. Be provocative, challenge conversations, and you know what? Put stuff out there where you know you're wrong, and see if people prove you wrong.
Yes.
That's what I'll probably say. Because the amount of stuff that you put out there and people go, oh, yes, this is great. Oh, fantastic idea, Danny. Yes. But you're like, no, I actually don't believe what I've just put out there. But I just want to see how easy it is for people to listen to that and go, wow, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, be provocative. I mean, was it 3 or 2?
I was taking the third one as the don't be afraid to put stuff out there if you think it might be wrong.
Okay, let's think of a third one. And just, it's nice to be nice. I think, while you can be great at what you do, don't be fickle and don't hide. People will see right through you if you're not authentic. I've seen it time and time before, and I guess people believe in people, but only the genuine.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. 3 brilliant tips. Thank you. And I think that bit about authenticity is right, isn't it? There's this humans, whether it's this oldest habit we have that we do group together. And I think, you're right, that those people who are authentic will naturally group and find other authentic people because they'll see through you. And I think the only people who are not authentic end up with other people who are not authentic. Yeah. So there's that complete lack of integrity within that kind of group.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think you see this in a lot. People who are kind of out there and a bit different in their thinking and who the WhatsApp group. The WhatsApp group proved its worth within 2 weeks of setting it up, and it was just a concept which I thought I'll try it out. It was never going to be what it's going to be, what it is, and it was just a thing of where I got to a point where I was like, I'm just lazy. I wanted the information. There's so much noise out there, and so many contradictive things about one subject. Never mind the 10 subjects, what's in learning and development or whatever. I just thought, why don't I bring the information to me? But actually, fundamentally, when I joined L&D, there wasn't anything like this. I thought, there needs to be a safe place where people can be open, they can share ideas, they can be themselves. They don't need to be anything other than themselves.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame, but to create something like that, sometimes you've got to constantly swim against the tide. I mean, you look at some great artists and stuff like that, but he was always constantly going against the norm.
Yeah.
I think there's a quote which is an awesome quote, and it was weird when I left. It come out to me. When I say it come out to me, I'm not like in some sort of guru it appeared, but it kind of did. And I think it's something which I like at the moment, and it hit home. Let me just get it for you now. And the quote is: "The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man." And woman as well. Let's get that in, because some of the best people I've ever worked with are women. And I think that's spot on. I think, we can all go left if we all follow that, but actually, let's go right.
Yeah, so I was really smiling, nodding when you saying that, because I read that quote in a book I'm reading at the moment, and it really resonated with me, and I think it really stands out that this element, I think particularly from L&D, is you're right, don't just go with the reasonable man, actually listen to the people who are challenging over here and put stuff out there that you're not 100% sure of, because that's what creates that discussion. That's where ideas are going to come from, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think, we've one of my biggest posts on LinkedIn was about using Instagram as a tool for learning.
Right.
And I was like, look, here, watch me make a cup of tea. I don't have to do any script, any trainer's notes. I don't have to tell you what I'm doing. You're just going to watch it in 60 seconds. There's a little bit of like stickers saying, boil kettle, wait for kettle to boil, or whatever. And I was like, this is if you want to use the term micro-learn, this is micro-learn. But actually it's not. It's just thinking about your user. Your user's on Instagram. So actually, why don't you create a little social media channel for Misguided, let's say, and lock it down just for the user and go, right, for the next 6 weeks, we're going to do our engagement on our next management program via Instagram. You can pin your stories. So pin the top 3 takeaways of today's session was boom, 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 boom. And fish where the fish live, I think, is that whole thing. I guess, it's, I don't know, it just comes back round to the fact of design thinking, I guess, as well. Design thinking is another big buzzword, but any good designer has been doing design thinking before it had this label attached to it.
Yeah.
And you can strip back design thinking, but fundamentally it's just knowing your user. You can't know your user. You can only guess your user and kind of adapt to it. But walk in their shoes. What are we going to see when they walk in that room? What are we going to feel? What are we going to feel when they open that e-learning module? What are we going to do for this? What are we going to do for that? How are you going to feel? And you can't adapt it for everybody because everybody's different, but you can do your best.
Yeah. Yeah, and that bit of knowing your user is interesting, isn't it? Because often we forget that we are users as well. So it's sometimes even saying, what do I want from that? Thank you. So I want to ask you a question that came from the WhatsApp group now from Kat Nicholson.
Okay.
And she's asked, if a film was made about you, Danny, what would it be called and who would you want to play you?
Oh, wow. Wow. Cheers, Kat. What a question. What would I call it? I'll call it Life at the Tap End. So when you was little kids, I used to always have the tap end of the bath. So yeah, I'd probably call it that. And probably a lot of people can relate to that. So you was either getting burning cold taps on your back or freezing cold taps. And every now and again, you touch a cold tap and it'd be freezing cold water.
Yeah,
So that's probably...
You were a younger sibling like me then, because that's where I spent my childhood.
Yeah, it's, so I'd probably call it that. Who would I want to play it? Who would I want to play it?
Dead or alive, anybody?
and there's got to be an actor on it. So
That'd probably help. Yeah.
yeah. You know who I would want to play as? Oh, it's so easy to say that a character, a person. But we'll go with a guy because sometimes there's girls in the world and she's got my quirky personality or whatever. We'll go with a guy. I'd probably say the guy out of Guardians of the Galaxy. What's his name? Is it Summit Pratt? I think.
Chris
name?
Pratt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd want him to play it because he's not too serious from what I can work out. Or of a guy who's Ryan Reynolds. That'll be a good one as well. Another one who didn't take life too seriously.
Deadpool.
Yeah,
Testing my film knowledge here. We better not turn this into a movie-based podcast, have we? Who are your heroes?
Oh wow, my heroes. Should we do heroes professionally and heroes personally?
Anybody who your heroes are.
Who are my heroes? Okay, professionally. I think my heroes professionally are at this moment in time. My heroes professionally. Wow, what a question. That's a really hard question. That. Let's come to my personal one first. So my heroes professionally, personally are my missus is my hero, and because a lot of it is completely opposite to me. So sometimes I can get trapped up in the emotion or something. She's just put it on me. If I cut my finger, it'd literally be the end of the world. Oh my god, I've got to get to the hospital. She'd just be like, yeah, it's fine. She's just solid. She's just rock solid.
Yeah.
And yeah, she doesn't freak out too much. And then if she does freak out, I know there's a big issue. There's a massive issue. She's freaking out. So yeah, my missus is vital to me. My mum's another one. My mum's always been there no matter what. I think I'll give you a bit of an insight into my mum. So, and it's probably going to go a bit more of a serious note this, but probably about when we was younger, my mum and my uncle, her brother, was always close family. And my uncle got into involved to drugs and stuff like that, and he had a son and stuff. And me and his son grew up together. My mum was going to adopt him while my uncle got himself out.
Yeah.
My uncle now is a counsellor for people, so he's turned his life upside down.
Brilliant,
but about 3 years ago, unfortunately, his son got into a bad way as well, and something bad happened to him. So he got in with the wrong crowd and he did something wrong and he went into hiding. And then this crowd got hold of him. They stabbed him, threw him in the back of a van, took him out to sea, cut his legs off and threw him into the sea, and then reversed over him in the boat. It was all over the news and stuff. But it's only in real situations like that where, I mean, it's only in real situations like that where you can see how solid people are and how there's certain people within families who hold stuff together. And sometimes holding it together is sometimes a thing what goes against the grain. Within my family, I'd say my mum's definitely the glue within that. Sometimes she's opinionated, but I think you've got to be opinionated, because I think if you don't, then everything stays the same. And so my mum's massively important, I guess. Yeah, and just throughout, whenever I've gone to a point where I question myself and my abilities, and people are going, oh, she's always been a person who goes like, realistically, just have a look at what else is going on around you rather than focusing on the one voice. Listen to the other 10,000 voices, what's different. So my mum's one. So my mum, Helen. And who else is important to me? My gran was important to me. It's 3 women. So yeah, my gran was important to me. And she still is, even though she's passed away now. The stuff which she says to me and the stuff which she's taught me, still sits with me now.
Yeah.
My gran. So my family's a bit nuttery. We're all Irish, so we've all got like this.
No one ever changed the world by being normal.
Oh, this is it. We've got a temper to them. And people say, "Oh, all Irish aren't the same." They're not. But my family was a bunch of nutters. But my gran had this craziness to her, but had this really humbling and subtle and soothing persona to her as well. And you could sit there and the house would be like 10,000 degrees hot and you'd be half asleep. But she'd tell you about things like what she went through when she grew up and kind of, she was always hard. She was always kind of, she'd just crack on and get on with stuff. She used to have this, she used to tell a story about in a back kitchen. It was always like a coal shed.
Yeah.
And she asked my granddad to do it, and he was like, yeah, we'll get round to doing it. And one day my granddad come back, and my granddad knocked this wall down, knocked this whole coal shed out, and I'm like, wow. So, I think there's a risk to where I'm quite action orientated. I want to just do and get on and kind of, let's do, try it. If it fails, let's adapt. Try it, fail, let's adapt. Try, fail it. And I think I get that from my gran, because she was exactly the same. Let's do it. Let's just get on with it. So yeah, probably my gran as well, personally. Professionally, I probably wouldn't say the heroes, because I think heroes is a big thing to have, especially if I look compared to my personal heroes.
Yeah.
People who I look up to. So I think anyone who is challenging the difference, with different ideas, I look up to. Barbs Thompson's a good person to look up to. She does things differently. Anyone from LPI team, Nick Jackson Jones team, they're all doing cool stuff. Who else? Laurie Hoffman's interesting. I think she just joined Fuse as a chief learning officer. She's really good.
Yeah.
She talked about digital body language, gets into the nitty gritty of data and the analytics behind it. And there's someone in HR who I really like, but the name's gone. But HR, because they talk all about the employee experience and kind of, how people buy into a brand, and if your employees buy into your brand, they're going to stay with you forever. But the name has gone. It'll probably come back to me.
It will. You'll think of it as we ask another question at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, when I jump up out of bed, say some girl's name. The Mrs. wakes up to try what's going on.
Yeah, you might not be a hero for much longer after that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I think particularly the personal heroes, I think that'll really resonate with a lot of people. So next question, the billboard question. So if you could have a billboard somewhere in the world that would reach out to millions of people, what would that billboard say?
Oh, this is a really good one. And the one which I used, Nick Shaxton Jones asked me the other day. So I'm going to say what that is, but I've got two. So one of them was, for every minute you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. But I've already said that I'm on the podcast because he asked me the question, how dare he? There's one which was really struck home recently, and just due to kind of ongoing rumblings, what I've heard, and it's really important. So it was, you cannot whisper to the wind and not expect the wind to whisper to the trees. That's probably one which is important to me right now.
Nice, lovely choices. Excuse me, sorry. Another question from the group. Danny, what gets you out of bed in the morning?
What gets me out of bed in the morning? Right now, job hunting. So what gets me out of bed in the morning? I think what gets me out of bed in the morning is I like LinkedIn. I like social media, but not too much of it.
Yeah.
And I think the thing what is with LinkedIn now is, you know what? Everyone's allowed to have an opinion, and right now my opinion seems to be around learning, development, and kind of what learning is and what employee experience is, and kind of how corporate business corps should look at themselves a little bit more.
Yeah.
That tends to be an opinion, and the opinion could be right, it could be wrong. But the ability to be able to share your opinion and have people hear you out and have good debate, that gets me out of bed in the morning. But I think you should always try and create something every day.
Yeah.
Whether it be pants or whether it be good, or whether you should be able to share something.
Yeah.
So yeah, creating gets me out of bed.
Nice. Yeah, I love that quote. That knowledge is power, but it's only truly powerful when it's shared.
Yes.
Lovely.
Correct, yeah, and that's spot on. That's exactly what the WhatsApp group's about. That's exactly what this podcast group's about. Because this podcast is a bit of a branch of the WhatsApp group. But fundamentally, you've got 20 people, probably by the end of this, who are all sharing a book of choice So even if you take one thing from this, you're gonna have 20 great book recommendations.
Yes.
So I'm like, well, sharing is caring. And I think recently I had Amy Val on, and she's all about sharing because she went through, and it really struck home actually when we got talking about it. She went through cancer, or she had a cancer scare or something, and
Right.
it was afterwards she was like, I want to be remembered. I want to create something and I want to share it because fundamentally when you go to death's door or whatever, you're going to have so much information which you haven't shared. And that happened to my gran. My gran had so much information which she shared about my life, my family in Ireland, which I don't know much about. And I just think that's more personal, but actually professional. You're going to have so much where you can give. And even if what you give is one question of why are we doing it that way or how can we do this differently,
Yeah.
then you've shared something. And I think that's all it is. Like, I think L&D really is fickle at the moment because all L&D is people's opinions. We can talk about what the future is, and we've talked about this just before, didn't we? We talked about the future of learning is, but really can we? Because what happens if tomorrow comes round and all of a sudden VR can't be done because there's a new virus and VR stops it? You can't predict the future.
Yeah.
You can plan for the future to a point, but I think L&D is great for the fact of it's just based around opinions fundamentally. You can do all your science in the world if you want, but fundamentally, who's going to buy your book? You know what I mean? You can put all your science in the world, but unless someone's reading that book, so it comes from conversations of sharing. Oh, I read this book and it was this, and this is what I got from it. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Tommy. Powerful stuff. So back to that question I asked you earlier. Then,
Okay.
what do you now want to be when you grow up?
What do I now want to be when I grow up? This is going to sound really pants and pedantic. And we use this word way too much. And I don't really think anyone knows what this word means truly. A thought leader. But I don't want to be a guru. So I want to be a thought leader because I just want to have a bigger stage where I can say, this is my thoughts. But everyone wants that, right? Everyone wants that stage to be able to go, look, your HR's a bit bobbins. You're not listening to your people. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. Or your employee experience. How can you turn around and go, yes, by the time they come in, how do we address the situation of there might be a 2-week gap there? How can we plug that gap so when these people come in, they're a bit more speed to conversations, a little bit more quicker and stuff. But I guess I would love just to be able to talk about L&D, learning development, and people fascinate me. But I don't think that role exists. And I don't think I can pay my mortgage with that. So let's take that off. And what do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be happy, and I want to be happy in the moment. I want to be happy in knowing that whatever I'm doing, I've tried to give back. Yeah.
Nice. And you did a pretty good job of talking about L&D so far, mate. So you've just got to find the role that pays.
Yeah, this is it. I did that conference talk a couple of weeks ago, and that was all about kind of using social tools. It didn't change the world. It wasn't about this is a new way of learning. It's about actually just use the tools what you've got and create something. And it was a really good experience because obviously we do talks and we do present it to larger audiences all the time. But it's just nice to know that people who are sat there are paying to listen to it, which is different than being forced there. So.
Yeah. I think that links to that giving back, doesn't it? That, even if people are paying to attend a conference or one of your speeches or whatever it might be, you are giving back because you're choosing to spend your time sharing with other people who will go off and use those things. Let's not kid ourselves. If people pay to attend things, they're going to get something from it, whether even if it's just a free bag. But so yeah, you're right. I think it's finding that right role, and that links into that element of that desire to give back.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people's work who have come to me and said, "How would you do this and how would you do that?" And they don't pay for the conversations or anything like that. And before you know it, it's found its way into their learning material, what they're charging £900 for a course and stuff like that, which is cool. That's fine because it's a conversation. We're all friends, right? That's just how it is.
Yeah, it's a backhanded compliment kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly that. But I think one of the things which I can't it just does not sit right with me is taking credit for other people's work. Why you don't have to say name and shame and go, this piece of module, this module of this work, and the reason why you're all doing handstands against a wall is because of Danny's training idea. You don't have to do any of that. But I just think, if you see something good and you think, right, okay, I want to copy that, then copy it. But when someone asks you about it, just say, yeah, I've seen it from Tim's course on Misguided on how to be an influential leader or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Don't say it's yours, but just say, yeah, I picked it up along the way, and this is where I picked it up from.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think people sometimes I really buy into that. It is that kind of, share and go away and kind of use that, and there is the compliment of it. I think people miss that actually by crediting the source gives you credibility because it shows the authenticity, the integrity, rather than just this is all about me, because people can go and find out whether it is or not. So yeah, actually you get more credibility by crediting where that idea's come from.
Yeah, and I think the problem is what you find a lot of times as well is people will. I think it's good that you can. Amy Burrell calls it remixing, taking something and remixing it and adapting it to whatever. And I like that term. I think it's really good. Because you're basically saying, I'm going to copy your idea, but I'm going to remix it. I'm going to make it fit for purpose for what I'm doing. And maybe it's something completely different.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of remixing, and it's something I've only come across recently. And maybe that's just your whole mindset of changing it. Rather than copying or stealing, it's remixing.
Yeah. Nice. That's an idea I'm going to nick from you, Danny. Remix it.
Yeah, remix it. That's it. And I got it from Amy just so it's on the record.
Okay, so at the beginning of the podcast, I said I'd chosen 4 numbers for you, Danny.
Yes.
So our regular listeners will know that this is part of the podcast where we get the person being interviewed to choose 4 numbers. Those 4 numbers represent something, which Danny is going to tell us what they are once I tell the numbers. And then Danny's going to tell us the 4 things that those numbers represent. They're the things he has to take to a desert island with him. And then he's going to tell us what he's going to do with those 4 things. So, Danny, if you want to share with us, I'll tell you these numbers what they are. So, for you, I chose number 1.
Okay. A condom.
A condom?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll be interested to see what you do with that on a desert island.
Yeah.
I chose number 55.
55. Some glasses.
Sunglasses.
No, just some.
Oh, sorry.
Sunglasses.
Glasses, yeah.
That's my lazy
Spectacles.
slur. Spectacles.
Number 78.
Number 78. Some tweezers. Jesus.
And number 99.
99. An iPod charger.
Oh, an iPod charger.
Yes.
Okay.
So go for it. What was we again?
So, Danny, on a desert island, what are you going to do with a condom,
Yeah.
some spectacles, some tweezers, and an iPod charger?
Okay. Okay, so ease one, iPod charger. Got to make a snare with actually to catch any food to kind of survive, I guess. That's my instant go-to. Okay, there's one done. Specs, I'm sure you can set a fire with the glasses maybe.
Nice.
Yeah, probably take the glass out of the glasses and use the frame for something. Yeah, that's probably what I'd do. Maybe it's a frame for the snare. The tweezers. So you'd think that's quite easy because they're a little bit sharp, but I don't know what you're going to be. Maybe I can use that to get the splinters out of my foot because, maybe I'm using my trainers for something else. I'm not sure. And yeah, the condom. What I'd do with that is I would fill it with sand. I'd tie a knot in it, and have you seen what's that film with Tom Hanks in where this
Castaway.
Yeah,
Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what my sand thing would be my Wilson, because I think if not, I would lose my mind. I'd need to talk to someone, and yeah, that's what that would be, I guess.
So you'd have a friend made out of sand and in a condom,
Yeah.
just to help you stop losing your mind. Now, there's a good chance that when somebody picks you up from this desert island and you introduce your condom sand friend, they might think you'd already lost your mind a bit there, mate.
I'd call him Boris as well. That would be my name for it, Boris.
Boris the condom?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
100%.
Very, a lot of ingenuity showed there for your ideas. Interestingly, that number 1 on your list of things is a condom, but we'll leave that to people's imagination, mate.
Well, nobody picks one. Nobody picks one ever, apart from you, Tim.
It's just because it's the 1st of May. And that's just the way my weird mind works, that my numbers have to be associated with something. So, I like, interestingly, when he said iPod charger, that was putting the fear of God into me, because I was thinking, if I was on a desert island with an iPod charger, I'd use it as a noose, because all that'd tell me is you've got a charger but no iPod, so you can't listen to music. So I like your positive solution with that, mate. Right, brilliant. That brings us to a close. Thank you very much, Danny. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to turn the tables on you on our Mind Chimp podcast. So just tell listeners, where can they find out a bit more about Danny Seals? How can they get in touch with you?
Yes, cool. So places to reach out to me at, predominantly it's LinkedIn. Closed my Facebook down a long time ago. LinkedIn is kind of, you'll probably see my rants. They're not ranty. They're just kind of, they're just begging for a bit of conversation, debate or anything. And I'm not really, obviously, dyslexia and stuff like that. I tend not to do big articles because it's easier to spell check a paragraph rather than 10. So LinkedIn tends to be go-to, and Twitter, which I'll throw all in the notes anyway.
Yes.
But that's probably the best. And reach out to me, because I love just chatting to it. I mean, in the space of this week, in the space of the last 5 days, I spoke to 8 different people about 8 completely different topics in learning development, from LMS to kind of user experience to ecosystems of LMS to creating learning experiences to creating social communities. So I like talking. That's probably my thing. I just like talking, and 9% of stuff I say is probably all just gibberish anyway.
It's never a bad thing, mate. That's what keeps us connected.
That's a good point.
Brilliant. On that note, thank you very much, Danny.
Yeah.
I'll see you soon, mate.
Cheers, Tim. Bye.